Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Megha Sharma. Now with the 50% tariffs that have come into effect, India and America are laying out a detailed plan on the imposition of the penalties, which it says is linked to India's continuous purchase of Russian crude and defense hardware. Many of India's export and labor-driven industries have raised concerns over the expected impact. Sectors such as gems and jewellery industry, which sends about 1/3 of its total global exports to America, is expected to be hit the hardest. Industry leaders have urged a look towards alternative markets as well as strengthening the domestic market to offset the projected 70% plunge for affected sectors. What exactly should be the immediate steps following the tariff war that has been waged by the American administration under Donald Trump is the big question that we ask. Kamal Bali, who's the president of Volvo, joining me on the telecast. Mr. Bali, thanks for joining us on NewsX. And of course, this was much anticipated, the 50% tariffs that have been imposed. And what is going to be the fallout in the next weeks and months in the short term as well as medium term till the time the economy stabilizes?
Yeah. Thank you. I think we all know it's very disappointing that this has happened. We all know by now that India has been singularly targeted with prohibitive tariffs, or let me rather say they're more like sanctions. Frankly, I don't completely understand the reasons for the same because it doesn't make sense. But let's look at the flip side. The flip side, I think on a positive note, I think there are some challenges which it will lead to. I will come to that in a moment. But let me first touch upon the flip side. The flip side is that this could well become a trigger for Team India to accelerate things that we needed to do in any case. We're talking about Viksit Bharat. We've got a number of things to be done. We need next generation reforms. We need the industry to really stand up and on quality, on R&D, on innovation, on AI, on many fronts. So I think this will actually be a great trigger to accelerate things that we needed to do. And I think we need to do this as Team India. When I say Team India, I mean government. Government must unleash the reforms, both state government and the central government, the next generation reforms. The industry must get on to looking at more diversifying its markets, export geographies, quality, R&D, and all of that. So, and if we were to look at and I think that's something which is probably, in my mind, in my view, a good outcome of this. I think we will all get united and do things together. But I think if you were to look at the overall impact on economy in the near term, I don't think we need to worry too much about it, because if I were to look at the numbers, our total exports to US is less than 2% of our GDP. Okay, it's about $80 billion, which is less than 2% of $4,000+ billion of our GDP. And within that, almost 50% of the items are exempt under this new tariff regime. Yeah. So if you look at items like pharma, medical items, smartphones, pharma, which almost account for almost $20 billion out of 80, they are exempt. They are not falling in that. If you look at auto parts, half of the auto parts will face 25%. And half of them will face 50%. So no major impact here as well. But I think there could be erosion in our competitiveness to some extent. Machinery and parts, there will be a negative impact. But I think the real impact will come into sectors which are basically MSME, very labor-oriented, like garments, fisheries, homes, textiles, gold and silver, cut and polished diamonds. And these are the areas where we will feel the pinch in the near term.
Right.
So I think
how do we offset this loss that the country is facing, and particularly the MSMEs. You know, they're not the richest of the businessmen, they're not the richest of the entrepreneurs. How do you think the government can support these sectors, these industries? Is there a need for moratoriums that to be announced by the government, by the policymakers, by the banks? Do you think the GST cuts are going to have a positive impact in helping the economy rebound?
Absolutely. I think you are spot on. And I think number of steps will require. That's what I said. Team India has to counter this altogether. So definitely support to these industries, these segments of economy. They can be identified very, very easily, very, very clearly. Support will be required immediate now and immediately. And I think things like GST support, moratorium on loans, some interest subvention. I think some things, I think all those things which very similar to what happened during COVID. So I think we could really take some leaf out of that book, how we countered and tackled that situation. I think some of these sectors will need that kind of support from the government, and I think which we should be willing to do, because you have to really take care of the next few months. I guess, I'm sure administrations on both sides will also be talking of resolving this this mess, and I think obviously some efforts will be made from both sides to. I believe that it should get. I mean, it can't remain permanently like this.
Also,
So, and in the
also
meanwhile,
talking about, you know, the country, the GDP is growing at a robust 6.8%. Do you think in the next quarter there is a likelihood of that dropping down to, I don't know, 3%, 4% before it further rebounds, before it further goes back to its normal fast-paced growth?
I don't see that. In any case, in the last few months, I think the Indian industry has been smart. They have exported to US what they would have exported in the last 2 to 3 months, what they would have exported in 6 to 7 months. So I think they have already, if you see the numbers, 21% growth in exports to US, right? Against an average of 3% growth overall exports, I think 21%. So I don't think that in this couple of quarters you will see that problem. Of course, the pinch for the industries, for the jobs, for the industries, that will be immediately and now, and therefore we need to support them. But I think in terms of GDP, maybe 0.1 percentage point or 0.2 percentage point here and there. But I think some of it has already been made up.
Okay.
But at the same time, diversification to new markets. And
Yeah.
I've just read somewhere that the government is making a fabulous outreach a dedicated outreach to many other markets like Germany, Italy, Japan, and so many of them. So I think that's going to be good. So I think in the near to medium term, some of those initiatives, and that will help India's cause in the longer run. What we've been talking about, Viksit Bharat, we have to become part of the global value chain,
Right.
and not depend on one or two geographies for our exports. Yeah.
Okay. All right.